What is up, everyone? Today we're showcasing a very strong core for the Open Great League Diggersby Froslass. I already made a video about this squad more than a year ago, and it was very, very good back then, but slowly after that, Warring came out and it just became a lot harder to run this core. However, now Warren's got a nerf, we don't really see it that much anymore, and this team is thriving once again. Not just because it doesn't have to face Warren anymore, but also because the Warren nerf has caused a lot more Nidoqueen to show up, which this team just eats alive. So yes, definitely a team I can recommend in the current meta. I think it's very strong. However, I wouldn't recommend Pelipper in the back. It has a big weakness, which we'll get into later when we face it. Anyway, first battle, we see a Swampert lead. Very bad for Diggersby, so you want to switch to Froslass here. In general, you do want to save switch Froslass in this meta, because like a Registeel is still like an incredibly hard wall to Froslass or to Pelipper, and Froslass doesn't really have that many hard walls. One of the bigger issues is Galarian Stunfisk, but with the energy lead I just got, I'll be able to get to this move for a second Rock Slide and even take a shield here. If I want, I can shield again and get to my third Avalanche before their next Rock Slide, even getting 2 shields, which is pretty good. This is what this team kind of relies on, getting shields down so Pelipper and Diggersby can sweep, as they both do very, very fine when shields are down versus most things in the meta. Gonna Avalanche this Stunfisk, they shielded up. Run Mud Shot, Earthquake, Fire Punch on Diggersby, alright. I accidentally forgot to TM away Quick Attack Hyper Beam from an earlier test I did. I cannot recommend it. However, this battle, I'm gonna get a lot of farm off this Stunfisk and almost have a Hyper Beam loaded for a Swampert. It was like too much away, so I'm actually gonna catch the Hydro. Couldn't throw the Hyper Beam, unfortunately, but we catch the Hydro. The Hyper Beam stored now for when I have to get my Diggersby on the Swampert later, maybe. And in comes a Skarmory. This is generally a losing matchup for Pelipper, but really not that bad, because this Weather Ball spam really adds up on the Skarmory, and they're definitely gonna have to unload a move onto me if they want to take me out, which is very fine with me. I'm just gonna hit these Weather Balls. Probably gonna throw right before I get there, but no, they try to overfarm too much. The energy gain on Pelipper is so deceiving. They just come way faster than you can imagine. So whenever you face a Pelipper, you've really gotta just throw your move, because they're gonna reach another Weather Ball, as we could see right here, and because of that I can now safely Hyper Beam the Swampert. Even if they'd thrown their move though, I would have been able to farm up a bunch of energy with Diggersby versus Swampert, or versus Skarmory, throw my Fire Punch and then throw a Hyper Beam versus Swampert. So in the end it didn't really matter, but that misplay by them definitely made it a lot easier for me. Next game we face an Azumarill, which is quite bad for this squad, as Azumarill does generally beat, or does beat, both Diggersby and Froslass. But here's the thing about Azumarill, it's very, very slow. All your Pokemon are out hasting this thing to moves, which means you can just take care of it with teamwork. Most don't run Hydro Pump, so you're gonna no-shield this. Ice Beam doesn't do that much, and now I'm gonna try to catch the Ice Beam on Pelipper. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out, so they'll be able to throw a harder hitting Play Rough here, I would assume. No, they're actually gonna go for the Ice Beam, which makes sense too, because they're gonna actually bring Sableye here. And well, them throwing the Ice Beam puts me in foul play range, and then throwing the Play Rough would have also put me in foul play range. So it didn't really matter what they threw right there, so they just threw the cheaper one, which makes a lot of sense. CP dying them right there. If they're like Excel, I win the CMP, but it seems they're not Excel, so I lost the CMP, but I'm still able to get to the Hurricane. Luckily, which does take them out. They weren't expecting the Hurricane, clearly. They thought it was just another Weather Ball, so they let it go. Pelipper just isn't that common in the meta anymore, so I think people just aren't prepared to deal with it anymore. Anyway, the Azumarill comes back in, gets a bubble of energy. I bring in my Diggersby, go for the Earthquake. They shield it up. This is probably Azumarill double ghost, right? It is, and that means Froslass will be able to sweep here. We're gonna Shadow Ball this Alolan Marowak, which should knock, well, we all knock him out, and then the Azumarill comes back in, and this Shadow Ball should be enough to take it out. I'm gonna no-shield this, kind of expecting an Ice Beam bait, but even if they play rough, like, I still get there, so that's fine. So one thing I wanna drive home about this battle is that I made sure to get shields down. Once the Sableye came in, I knew it was gonna be Azumarill Double Ghost. Or I didn't know that, I was assuming it was gonna be Azumarill Double Ghost, which means either Trevenant or Lolomarok in the back, or it could have even been Altaria. But in the case it's another Ghost type, I needed shields down, which is why I made sure right here to throw the Earthquake. Like, I could have saved the Earthquake and just went into Froslass, but that is a loose condition. I have to get shields down, or get my Diggersby on that Ghost in order to win the game. So that was very important right there, getting shields down so my Froslass can sweep the Ghost type in the back. Next game we see a Vigoroth lead, which is not great for Diggersby. Diggersby lost so many leads in this set, like so many leads. I did 2 sets with this team, lost like 7 leads, but still went 9-1. So yeah, this team is just very solid. And you know, Diggersby's lost leads are usually things you can come back from. Like as we saw with the Azumarill lead. Diggersby has a lot of play there. Even versus Vigoroth. Like technically that's a winning lead for Vigoroth. 2 Earthquakes knock it out. Or an Earthquake with some chip damage. So it is not too bad. Diggersby is very, very tanky, and Much Earthquake is just a very potent combination. That Diggersby just has a ton of play versus everything. Just like Froslass, which actually manages to take 2 shields from his Azumarill and still hit the Shadow Ball. It's quite huge. We've put the Azumarill quite low now. At this point, Froslass has done its job. We're gonna let it go, and then we're gonna bring Pelipper to farm this Azumarill down. Should be 1 over, which means I think this could be a play rough. I let it go. The Ice Beam. I think at this point they are 4 away from the next, and I just gotta hope I can farm down right before that, and I can farm them down right before they get there. Now we're gonna go for the Weather Ball against this Skarmory. Skarmory, another Pokemon I've seen loads of. I think ever since Warren got nerfed, you know, there's less to worry about, because Warren was a good anti-Skarmory as well. Now it really only has like Steel types to worry about, which is always worried about. But you know, that's just one thing. There's no Warren anymore. And there's like a rise of Nidoqueen and Trevenant, which Skarmory of course does okay against. Here we see the Vigoroth, and like I said, Diggersby has a ton of play here. That Earthquake did a ton, and Diggersby is an absolute monster. This Body Slam is gonna do nothing. Well, okay, it actually did a decent chunk, but not that much. We're just gonna Fire Punch the Vigoroth now, and at this point, we can just get to another Fire Punch versus Skarmory, and that should be enough to take it out. I'm just gonna shield this just in case they have a Brave Bird. I didn't think they'd throw it, even if they had it. But no matter what, I was gonna get to another Fire Punch, which we do right here, and that should knock out the Skarmory. Alright, Altaria in the lead. Now this is a problem. This is why I recommend you don't run Pelipper in the back. Altaria in the lead is kinda common, because, well, ever since Warren got nerfed, Altaria usage just went way up, and Diggersby gets destroyed by it, and Pelipper isn't too great against it either. Froslass is, like, very good against it, but when you face Altaria in the lead, like, what are you gonna do? It is not unwinnable. I've definitely been able to beat several Altaria leads by switching in Froslass here, then getting shields down, and then hope I can Hurricane the Altaria Pelipper later. So you can win matches like that, but it's only gonna happen like 10 or 20% of the time, which, well, given that Altaria will probably be pretty common, it's just not good enough. So what I highly recommend is, instead of Diggersby, or instead of Pelipper, run something stronger against Altaria that also beats Swampert and Fighters and other waters too. That's important. So Cresselia, for example. Jumpluff could work there too, which seemed like a weird suggestion since it's a grass flyer, right? You lose to Altaria. Not really, actually. That will come in the next video. If you want to see my Jumpluff video where I go in depth in Jumpluff, go subscribe, because it's actually pretty okay versus Altaria, given that you have the right IVs. Another mon is like Alola Ninetales that could work as well, but then you're a little weaker against Swampert, but should still be manageable. So pick your poison, I guess. So Cresselia, Jumpluff, Ninetales is the main things I would recommend to you. Alola Ninetales, that is. Anyway, let's get into this battle. See how I did against the alt. they bring it at Dunsparce versus my Froslass. This is not ideal. This thing runs Rollout, Rock Slide. We'll definitely be able to beat my Froslass, but I might be able to get at least one shield down. A very common pairing with Altaria. The most common team I've seen is Registeel, Toxicroak. And against that team, Froslass will always be able to take 2 shields, because Registeel is actually not too good against Froslass. You can actually take both shields, especially if you don't get the debuff. You actually win the 0s and a 1 straight up. But Dunsparce unfortunately can't, so I have to settle with getting 1 shield down. And now, like, Pelipper is gonna be in real trouble versus the Altaria too. I'm gonna have to bait with a Weather Ball probably in order to even get to the Earthquake, to the Hurricane. We're gonna farm down this Dunsparce now, but not before they get to another Jiren. Dunsparce is just so spammy, but these moves luckily don't do too much damage. We fully farmed it down. Now they're gonna bring the Altaria, and yeah, in the back is a Lantern. This is really tough at this point. I'm just gonna speed it up. We're just gonna get eaten alive by the Lantern here. This team actually had triple counters for Pelipper, so it just wasn't possible. If I had like Cresselia in the back there, I actually would have been able to Moonblast the Altaria, Grass Knot the Lantern. Probably would have been a win. Although the Ninetales would have just been able to fully charm through that. And what was the other one I recommended? Oh yeah, Jumpluff. Jumpluff probably could have dealt with both the Altaria and Lantern as well with a shield advantage. So that's why I recommend those 3. Definitely try this team out with those. G. Alright, this is a pretty bad lead. Now, normally I would save switch Froslass, but against Obstagoon you want to save switch Pelipper, because behind Obstagoon, there usually isn't any of Pelipper's main answers. Like, the main things you're worried about with Pelipper are Registeel and Altaria mainly. And having those behind Obstagoon would make no sense. So that's why you switch Pelipper. Besides that, the way you're gonna deal with Obstagoon lead is by chipping it and then hoping to get like a shield advantage or energy advantage on your Froslass, so you can take out the Obstagoon with that, or maybe even Earthquake it a couple times with Diggersby. Should do right here. As you see, I died with a Weather Ball right there. I wasn't expecting them to throw their move immediately, so I didn't throw it. Mistake, but on the other hand, if they didn't throw immediately and I threw my move, they would have gotten a full free Air Slash in, which would have allowed them to fully farm me down, doing like a ton of damage versus my Diggersby. So either one would not have been ideal. Don't think this is too bad. Oh, they had to Brave it, and I was hoping to farm down with Froslass. Unfortunately, it's not gonna happen. I'm expecting Nidoqueen in the back though. Obstagoon, Skarmory, Nidoqueen is extremely common team. So I know at this point, the Froslass is my win condition to take out both the Queen and the Obstagoon. They actually bring the Queen here, which is interesting. I think they just want to sacrifice this and sweep with the Goon at this point. Makes some sense, but they shield that, which is a bit odd, because I'll be able to get to another move here. Even CMP tied with me, which they are gonna shield. Bit of a misplay by my opponent here, to be honest. They're gonna go for the Poison Fang, but I don't have to shield this. Honestly though, even if they let go of the Nidoqueen right there, the Obstagoon would have been toast against my Froslass with energy and my Diggersby with a bunch of energy right there, so I don't think it really mattered, but this definitely did make it a bit easier for me. Actually, it's not over quite yet. I still am some ways away from my second Avalanche here on my Froslass, and if they fully farm me down, I'm in trouble. Actually, I'm not gonna throw my Fire Punch here, because I was hoping to threaten them with an Earthquake and maybe scare them into throwing a Poison Fang. And throwing like a Fire Punch here would have no effect. It doesn't knock out, it doesn't put him in a range where I can Powder Snow down, so my only player is going for Earthquake, but I don't reach it. Like, throwing a Fire Punch there would have been extremely useless, so I didn't throw it. But luckily, they don't seem to be at 2 Poison Fangs as well, so I'm freely able to Avalanche right here, and this knocks him out. GG's. Next up, we have Froslass lead, and this is real awkward. There's another lead where I bring in Pelipper. Honestly, I don't really have a logic to this. I think behind Froslass, there could potentially be Registeel. It wouldn't be too odd, so this is risky. But switching in your Froslass into another Froslass is, I think, riskier. Because, well, then you're like behind in energy and they'll likely win the mirror without you doing much damage with the Powder Snows at all. Actually, in Saolai though, which is super interesting too. They have a Ghost in the lead and a Ghost in the back. Kind of weird, but fine. This is good. like an energy battery for my Diggersby here. I just want to ramp up as much energy as possible my Diggersby so I can start spamming fire punches against the Froslass, which I expect to come back in, to throw the big return, and I just make sure I throw my fire punch before their foul play. Should go over 100 there, but doesn't matter. They let it go. Now the maximum out of energy possible, and I bring in the Yoxes actually. This is a wild team. They have no answers for Sableye actually besides their own. No like dark answers. Kind of rough for me, but I go into my Froslass hoping to like, I don't know. Honestly, maybe I should not have switched out of Diggersby. Then they could have fully farmed me down though. I think the best case scenario would have been then to throw a Psycho Boost into my Diggers, but they weren't gonna. So switch to Froslass, I take the Thunderbolt. Now we CMP Timeless Avalanche. They actually let it go, which is huge. They bring in their Frost. My Frost like slightly higher attack. Well, I'm not sure if it's higher attack than theirs, but mine isn't like super high ranked. It has some attack, so I usually do expect to win CMP. Can't shield this. I have energy on my Diggersby, and I just gotta hope it's enough to get the 2 fire punches here before they get to another avalanche or 2. Actually, they need 2 avalanches because I have a shield. Throw one fire punch, the next one should be loaded, so even if they CMP tie, I should be able to win this game, and they know that, so let it go, GG's. Skarmory lead. It's pretty good for Diggersby. You have the fire punches here, but like fire punch is pretty weak, so I need like 3 to take out. But luckily, Skarmory, Sky Attack. Well, Sky Attack is a pretty good move, but Air Slash just sucks. So they're gonna need like 3 Sky Attacks to knock you out as well, like a Sky Attack and a Brave Bird, and they don't reach that before you get the 3 fire punches. So you always win this. Actually, go for a Brave Bird straight up, and then switch to Scrafty, which you respond to with Pelipper, of course. Pretty good here. Though Pelipper is pretty squishy. Actually let the first move go, just in case they power punch bait. But this means that they can probably counter me down now. Not ideal. I'm just gonna go straight for the Hurricane, expecting them to expect me to Weather Ball. But they actually shielded up, which is not ideal. But you know what? This is fine with me. I'll take shield advantage here. Just gonna let my Pelipper go down. Hopefully still get to a Weather Ball. That'd be quite nice, but I don't reach it. But it is okay. My Froslass really doesn't take too much from the counters. Expect them to foul play here, so I'm going to shield up. And if they foul play from Power Punch, I can at least overfarm a bit. So now I'm going to overfarm till they've reached the Power Punch. Or actually, no, I'm going to farm down. They died with the foul play there. It's 7 and then 6 for foul plays, by the way. And they died on the 6 counter there after their move. So, yeah, that was perfect. They go and Skarmory now. And wow, Froslass is going to do so much damage. Should go for the Shadow Ball here, probably. I don't think Avalanche knocks out. And Shadow Ball does do more damage. It's less energy efficient, but in neutral matchups like that, it does do more, like, total damage. In comes the Nidoqueen. Like I said, this thing is common. And this is one-shots. Froslass with another sweep. GG. Another Skarmory lead. Same deal. Diggersby can take good care of this. Of course, gonna stay in. Just start fire punching. 3 fire punches knock out. They need multiple moves. Usually with Skarmory, it's like Swampert in the back, it's like a fighter in the back. Usually Pelipper and Froslass are very, very good. And I don't know whether or not switching out. Usually with Skarmory in the back, it is like multiple Diggersby answers in the back, like Swampert, like a fighter. But it could be a Sableye too. So since they're staying in, that's kind of what I'm expecting. Someone like a Sableye, which means I kind of want to switch and get my Pelipper on that Sableye. If that is what it is, could also be like a Drapion. I've seen that. I don't think it really makes sense, but definitely seen that. I actually shield this fire punch, which is wild. Go for another fire punch. They're actually going to shield it again, which is insane. They must be very weak to Diggersby in the back, which has me worried. If they're very weak to Diggersby in the back, is it going to be like double steal? Like, I don't know, or triple steal then with Bastiodon or Reggie Steel? They really don't want their Diggersby, my Diggersby is aligned to those. In that case, my Froslass and Pelipper would be really, really bad. So I'm not too interested, but it's actually a Metacham, which is wild. They bring it into my Froslass too, which I'll just be able to Shadow Ball right here, take it out, and then it's a Jellicent. So it really weren't that weak against Diggersby at all. So my opponent really making some weird plays here, but I'll take it because it makes for a very nice Froslass sweep to end the video. Hope you enjoyed. Again, can definitely recommend this team. Appreciate you watching. See you next video. Good luck, you Bell Stringers.